talk a little bit more about this France team, shall we? Didier Deschamps, incredible as a player, as a manager. Geoff, where does he currently rank for you amongst managers with some of the different national teams and the best ones?
Do you know what I like about him, Ali, is his sense of calm. And we've seen with the French national team, we have seen chaos. We've seen them implode at various times. And it never seems to faze him. The fact that he's been there and done it as a player at the very top level, that doesn't mean you can be a top coach. But I think that stands him in good stead. You know, we saw, you know, when they refused to train, when there's just chaos. But nothing fazes him whatsoever. Even the criticism at times that, you know, he's not an overly adventurous coach, which seems impossible when you've got that much talent. They're second favourites, and rightly so. And I think after losing the last World Cup final in the fashion they did on penalties, and they've got such a talented group, I would imagine that the feeling in their camp is one of unfinished business.
Were you there for that World Cup?
Of course.
The final? Of course you were. What was it like being on the ground for that one? Because I remember, it's one of those games that you kind of just remember where you were when you were watching it, because it was just one of the most epic World Cup finals we've ever seen. What was your perspective on it?
It was fantastic. And because it had the Messi factor, the magical Messi factor, because so many people who were not Argentina fans or were neutrals fell in love with Argentina purely for Messi. For him to do it, for him to lift the trophy, it was amazing. But it was also an incredible game of football. It was end to end. It was sensational, absolutely sensational. No, if the next World Cup here is even half as good, then we'll have done well. You don't normally get finals as good as that, do you? How many times you've got two great teams in the final, and both coaches are understandably cautious? That went out the window. Yeah. It was a proper slugfest. Great final.
It really did, Aly. What was your perspective? And what's your just overall thoughts on France? Like we saw, they are, you know, the second betting choice favorites going into next summer, and things could change, of course, but it's really no surprise.
Look, I think it might be their tournament to lose. Honestly, they just look so strong. I think the caliber of players coming in, maybe their only weakness could be if some of those players get injured because of how many fixtures they're playing domestically and with the national team. But I think Deschamps, if they even make the final, I would say that he is cementing himself as one of maybe the greatest national team manager of all time.
Yeah, and we'll see, Aaron, what happens in Deschamps' future after the World Cup. He's said before that he'd be open to going and coaching at the club level. The question is, where do you see that being? Would he stick in France or maybe go somewhere else?
When this question was posed in the pre-match meeting, I thought about, immediately Marseille came to mind. He's a Marseille legend. He played for the club. He's won titles with them. Obviously, being a Frenchman, going to Marseille, going back to that club would be massive for him. He also played for Juve. And we know that right now Juve are in a little bit of turmoil. They've just hired a new manager in Spalletti. But in a year or so, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen with Marseille? Those are a couple possible options. I can see him going back to Italy, going back to France. He's just such a fantastic manager. Anyone who has him will be lucky to have him, so I'm really, really interested to see where he does it.
Hey, Aaron, what about Chelsea?
I mean,
the high turnover of managers.
That is a fantastic shout. He played for the club, really, really high turnover. Put that one on the list easily, yeah, 100%.
Well, and just to point to the shout of Juventus and Serie A, I mean, we see coaching jobs open just about every single cycle, every week over there. But Geoff, the focus right now is, of course, on next summer's World Cup. Aly touched on it. One of the concerns with this team is just the workload that some of their stars are experiencing. They're coming off of a season that had so many games. What was it, upwards of like 70-some games with the Club World Cup and everything? So that could be an area that they falter. Where do you see there being perhaps a weakness for France?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, sometimes France have previously had internal problems. They've imploded. I don't get that vibe with this particular group. I don't think that is the case this time around. I do think, as Aly said, it's more this particular group. It's the workload. But you could say that for a lot of the top teams, you know, what sort of shape they're going into in the tournament. Club World Cup in particular, though, that could leave a nasty hangover, and the kick in the tail is the World Cup just might be a step too far for players who've had a massive workload in the previous, full calendar year, isn't it, if you take out the Club World Cup. So that would be a concern. But they're so strong, and I think they've got the depth as well. They'll be able to deal with it. Look, they're a team of talent. They're a team of bravery. They're a team of self-belief, and they're a team of ability.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the French fans, I don't think Les Bleus will be going into this thinking, oh, if this, if that. They'll be thinking, we were that close last time.
Yeah, I was going to say that motivation from just how that World Cup played out. I mean, it's heartbreaking to lose in a final no matter what, but it feels like the manner of that one had to sting perhaps just a little bit more. You're part of one of the most legendary games, but you're on the losing end of it. So we heard Geoff and Aly's thoughts on where you think they could falter. Is there anything tactically that you see with France that gives you pause?
So far, what I've seen, Geoff mentioned it, Didier Deschamps can be a little bit stubborn in some of his tactical frameworks. He does like to be very cautious in the way that he approaches matches, and sometimes you could say, oh, he keeps the handbrake a little bit too on. But this France team are so well set up for so many situations. They are able to change and adapt, and Deschamps has shown himself able to change and adapt. And the tactical depth that they have of players they can bring off the bench, players they can start, they can change it. Look at the players they brought off the bench yesterday. Ugo Ekitike, Magnus Akliush, Malo Gusto, Christopher Nkunku, Warren Zaire-Emery. The depth they have and the ability that they have to shift and change even within matches is fantastic.
Well, an important note here, Mbappe has left the French national team camp for precautionary, reasons with injury. So that is just something to add there. But Aly, I mean, either way, this is a stacked team. Geoff said it, they have a lot of depth. Desiree Doué, Ousmane Dembele, you've got guys flying up the wings. How do you defend a team like France? Like, how big of a headache is that?
I think teams are having an issue doing that. And even their game yesterday, it was an emotional night in Paris. It was the anniversary of the Paris attacks, and maybe it had a little bit of a slow start, but it is inevitable. They're going to score, and we knew they were going to qualify, I think, going into that game, even if it took a half to really get into it. But I'm interested to see who is going to really take Olivier Giroud's place, to see a France at a World Cup and not have him at the top of that team leading the way. It's going to be different, but I think the conversations are all around Kylian Mbappé. This is his team now, his leadership. I think it's evolving, but it's an exciting time for this team.
Everyone's saying that, by the way, about the New Zealand women's national team. I mean, what are we going to do without Aly Riley? I mean, leading the line.
Okay, Aly, okay.
But Aaron, you have your 3 reasons why France can win the World Cup. So let's go through those, and we'll get some reaction.
The first one is the most obvious one. We've all mentioned it. The strength and depth of this team. One falls, 3 more pop up in their way. It's like a hydra, this France team. But they have so many quality players. The next reason is another one we've mentioned. A generational match winner in Kylian Mbappé. Scored a hat-trick in the final. He did everything he possibly could to push this France team to a win. I've also seen him kind of step up in a leader capacity for this Real Madrid team. Last year, it kind of seemed like Mbappé and the rest of the team. It seems like he's really starting to embrace a leadership role and bringing other players into not just the Kylian Mbappé show. And the final reason, I was sitting here looking at Geoff so intently when he mentioned the team spirit of previous France teams. That has absolutely been an issue. They've had issues in camp. They've had fights with coaches. They've had internal fights. But this current French squad, it feels like the team spirit is really, really strong. There's leaders kind of popping up that I didn't really expect. Thomas Müller talked about Michael Olise as being one of those leaders that you'd never expect. He's a really, really strong personality in the locker room, a unifying player. This team feels like they really, really have a good spirit, and I think that will really carry them in this World Cup.
Yeah, Geoff.
And Michael Olise is on fire.
On fire, absolutely. Bold.
I mean, Thierry Henry said that he's the one guy that really gets him out of his seat. That's got to be like the coolest thing to do, right? That's true when you watch him play.
That's like a quote you frame and put up on your wall. Like Thierry Henry said, he gets me out of his seat.
On your gravestone. 100%. I would already have that tattooed on my arm.
Mbappé, Dembele. I mean, it's frightening, the talent that they have.
An embarrassment of riches, no doubt.